stream is that without an account, you have to redo it every time. So we have to go back into we have to go into our settings. Hey, there we are. Live now. So you have to go back into your settings in OBS and update it. So, but look at
That's dumb.
Are you on it? Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that ticker, baby. Ticker life. Check it out.
Ticker life. Hey, look at that. That looks nice.
Isn't that great? Is it too small?
Well, I would say this. The only thing we may want to do, because if you put your cursor over it,
right,
the Twitch overlay blocks it all. So we might want to, next time we stream, figure out if there's a way to get it to where it doesn't go around that. And apparently we're slinging cardboard rectangles with the alert we put out. Ooh, sorry, YouTube and Twitch.
Yeah, suck on that.
Suck it.
Update titles. Wait, hold on. It said that?
Yeah, it popped up because I'm on Twitch, and so it popped up a little alert for me.
What the? Well, Restream says we're live streaming Brews and Builds, and we're talking through our EDH decks. So Twitch lied to us.
Twitch, you fucking liar.
Twitch lied to everyone out there for those playing the home game. Now it says it right. Cool.
There we go.
Wait, no. Oh, that's a go live notification. My bad. Whatever. We're figuring it out, people.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready in a big way.
3, 2.
Okay, and here we go.
Whoa! Hey guys, welcome to episode 146 of CMD Towers Brews and Builds. I'm Mr. Comment number 5, and my fellow hosts will be looking forwarding to rise and shine tomorrow as a newly cemented CEDH player, BigTuck.
I'm not gonna lie to you. It was fun playtesting this, and is this just normal? Is it normal to feel this way when you're doing it?
Like dirty and greasy?
It was, yeah. Like I don't know if it felt good, but in a bad way, right? Like, you know, like those vampire movies where it's like, oh, it feels so good to be bad or whatever. That's exactly what it felt like. It felt like that. Like,
so I'll say this. Usually you don't have that feeling because you're usually at a table with other people with decks similar. So it's actually, when you play test it and you have the experience that you did, it's like, I think I might need to get quicker. Like, is this even enough? That's more of like the mindset.
Okay, because that's what I was trying to understand as well, where it's like, is this good enough? And well, okay, I don't want to get too much into it, but it was very fun playtesting this, and I've been trying to do that more often with the decks when I build them, just to be like, what am I missing here, right? Like, is it too slow? Yeah. Am I missing creature drops? Like, what's going on here? So, anyways, how are we doing today? How are you? It's hot as balls here in CLT. So.
Dude, it is
it warm?
Hot outside. My goodness. I went to a shoe store near my house to get my wedding shoes. I wanted to just get them like a little refurbished, a little touched up, because I already have a pair of patent leather dress shoes. And I go in, hand the guy my shoes, and I'm just kind of waiting. Small little store.
Sure.
A couple guys in there, they're chatting. And I'm closed in. It's an air-conditioned,
I'm stuck in here, baby.
And the guy that's sitting down, just kind of sitting there talking, he's like, hey, so is it still hot out there? And I was like, bro, I'm sweating just thinking about how hot it is outside. And I'm in air conditioning. What do you think? So it's hot as hell. Very excited, though. That definitely cooled me off. Don't know if everyone's seen it. I shared it with BigTuck today. Apparently, some fan took the Kenobi series, truncated it down, and actually even rearranged some of the scenes to be more of a movie. And it's about 2.5 to 3 hours long. And I successfully got mine downloaded, so I will be forcing my fiance to watch that this weekend.
Has she watched all of your video? Has she watched all of it already with you, or no?
No.
Okay. Well, and so I don't want to get too far into this because we want this is a net good thing, right? That came out of this, right? Yeah. This is a net good product, I think. But so far, all of the links except for the one streaming service that he put up are all dead. None of them work today. So, and they all said that they violated Google's terms of service when you click on them.
I got so lucky then because I was able to get it downloaded to my Mac this morning.
Yeah.
So I actually have the file. You know what? Maybe I'll put it in our shared drive.
Well, get
Hook
this.
up our buddy.
I went through and he posted there's like 5 different Google Drive links.
Yep.
And then there was a final one that was like on Audio FM or something. So I went to that and I did get it downloaded, all 11 gigs
Oh,
of
there
it.
you go.
So we're set. I'm thinking about potentially watching that tonight because we're going camping tomorrow morning, or we're going hiking
Okay.
tomorrow morning. So I don't know if I want to be like out in that all day, like hungover or anything. And also, I didn't really drink this week, which I was very proud
But you
of.
said didn't really? Does that just mean you had like a beer a day?
No,
or
I
what's
had
that?
I didn't have any beers. This is the second beer I had this week, and I had one of them with lunch today because I was like, I forget it. My boss and my project manager have been out of town this entire week, so it's kind of felt like I've been out of town a little bit this entire week, if you catch my drift.
Okay.
Like I got all
fair,
my work
that's fair.
done as needed, but like no one's
Yeah.
really judging me for it because they don't know what's going on. So it's been good, man. I went and saw there's a new movie theater place that opened in down the street from where I live. It's like all independent movies, and there's one that I loved that I think you would have despised called Lost Highway, and it makes no
Okay.
sense. I saw it on the second time around and finally understood it, but it's very slow. A lot of people looking at each other. Did you see the Northman yet?
I have it downloaded and I want to watch it. But
Okay.
it looks like one of those movies I need to be in like a drama action mindset
Yes.
before I sit down.
Right. Well, and that guy up to this point has only done weird, like indie, very thought-provoking sort of stuff. So I don't think it's going to be like the
Okay.
Vikings TV show, which I know you're a big fan of.
Oh, freaking love it.
Also, I switched it up a little bit. I am having a Belgian beer that's from Rochefort, Belgian. Belgian ale, a Trappist. That's 9%, and it's quite tasty.
look at
so
you.
look, I'm starting it off right. Starting her off right, and boy, I'm hyped for today. Big hype for today.
Big hype, guys. And if you aren't sure why you're here, let me educate you. Because Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32, the 12 themes of EDH decks, we have moved on to a segment called Say Yes to the Deck. And this will comprise of one of our hosts, today being myself, building a deck online specifically geared towards the playstyle for the other, but still challenging how they play EDH, which I did for BigTuck today.
You sure
But
did.
at the end, we'll still see if they say yes to the deck, and I believe you should have most of the pieces for this deck already in your possession. I would think you probably do.
think I do,
And I
yeah.
actually even cut cards out that I was like, no way you have these. And we'll see if they say yes. But of course, guys, at the heart of Brews and Builds is still here. So we describe the decks similar to how we brew beers. So we broke it down into 4 different categories. The first one's rampant setting your board state. We call that grains.
And grains is the foundation of every beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually in a 60-40 ratio. This helps with the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content of the beer. Decks always needs ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp into your bigger threats. And just like a grain profile, they're usually a mix of staples and specialty cards.
How does your board interact with all of your opponents? We call that hops.
And hops give its beer its patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors. They grow in a variety of strands and helps distinguish subcategories like IPAs. Our hop choices help clearly interact with the board so your deck can ultimately do what it wants.
And then we have it's interesting, the format that I built this deck for. You'd think there'd be a lot of this, but you want it very specific for the deck. How do you actually close out and win? We call that yeast.
And yeast are the living microorganisms that eat the sugar from the grain and poop out alcohol and CO2. It adds alcohol content, and these Belgian beers are known for having very high yeast contents. And the carbonation. Without yeast, you'd be drinking flat sugar water. Without yeast cards, your deck wouldn't meet the goal of actually winning the game.
And then, of course, we do have shenanigans, and surprisingly, I was able to cram a few in here. These are pet cards, kind of weird synergies that could fit. Maybe they're a little fringe. We call that spice.
And not every beer has them, but spices and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It could be this pepper that turns a stout into jalapeno stout, or the addition of hops that turn IPA into a double IPA. Not every deck has something that makes it pop, but if it does, this is where we generally talk about it.
And then to cap it all off, we do have a bottle capping. And these are going to be big tucks, 3 cuts, and 3 adds to the deck that are going to be under $5, under $50, and a no budget restriction. We just can't talk about mana-only lands, which I don't think you would want to do in a mono-colored deck. So without further ado, let's get brewing. Today, guys, I think I might have done it It's not true what I would call S tier, but I would say this is a strong A tier CEDH deck. We got to say yes to the deck with Urza High Lord Artificer. Or Lord High Artificer.
Yes, I always think it's the other
Tuck?
way too. I always think it's High
Yeah.
Artificer, and we're talking about 420 there, baby.
Well, BigTuck, why don't you read what this card does, and then let me describe how I had built
Yes.
this for you, and then we'll kind of have your thoughts and feedbacks on the deck as a whole.
Sure. So Urza, Lord High Artificer. That is so hard. Is that hard to say? Is that just us?
Urza, Lord High Artificer?
Urza, Lord.
I mean, I think it's just... It just sounds weird grammar-wise, because it should be High Lord. Like, I always feel like when you hear about lords, it's the High Lord.
Urza,
Lord
High Artificer. Urza, High Lord Artificer. High Lord's way easier. Anyways, for those who don't know, this is a 2 colorless, 2 blue, legendary creature, human artificer, mythic. That's from what set, Mr. Combo?
Modern Horizons!
The first one. And it's a 1/4, which I don't think matters, but all 3 abilities heavily do in this build. When Urza enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with. This creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control, which I think is shockingly good here, and I'll explain why as to my playtest, right? So then also tapped and untapped artifact you control, add blue, which I think is probably the strongest ability on the card, period, right? Just being able to turn everything into it. And then I think the bottom one is one that people use a lot for win cons, but here I feel like it's much more nice to have, right?
Yeah, it's just a nice to have.
Yeah, so 5 colorless, shuffle your library, then exile a top card. Until end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost. So is the only reason why this is banned in Golos, why this isn't banned in Golos is because Golos is colorless?
Colorless, it can go in any colored deck, and Golos is an ETB. Get, I think it's any land from your deck, right?
Or put on the battlefield.
So I think that's the reason is you can more abuse and go get those
more stuff.
Lands. Yeah,
I think Urza is way stronger.
Blue.
Urza's way stronger, I think, but what do I know, right? This isn't my forte. But anyways, this was the deck that you built.
Yes. So this was my attempt to get Tuck into CEDH. So first off, stop the additional comments that this is probably a fringe CEDH deck. We get it. We get it. What Tuck had asked, and when I had challenged him with it, he said, I would like to have a very high-powered deck that I can play at the CEDH tables when I go to a Magic Fest, and, I could at least be there and participate. But I also don't want the deck to be so strong that if I sit down at a casual table where people just have their 7s and 8s, I don't just pup stomp them to death.
Right.
So that's kind of where I started thinking, what could we do around that? We know Tuck loves the red zone. He loves beating face. So that's kind of where I thought, well, what if you did an Urza build and tried to figure out a way to blink him as much as possible to get the construct army and just go in? I mean, if you look at Urza's art, it's literally constructs behind him with the Darksteel Forge behind them. So I don't think this was ever a combo commander. I think this legitimately was almost built as a, hey, I got this army and I'm going to beat you.
Right, this army of Robits.
Yes. And so I thought there could be some appealing there. I thought going monocolor would make it easier on the budget because now you don't have to worry about Abers and fetches, things like that. Artifacts, a lot of the ones that Urza likes are the Cheerios. They're very cheap. They're throwaway artifacts. I thought that could kind of help with that. And I know Urza has such a reputation, and so I thought it'd be fun to for you to sit down and be like, guys, this isn't your normal Urza deck. And you're actually 100% faithful and true about it.
Yeah, and I think it's reasonable for a CEDH deck. It's around $1,400 to $1,800, right? Like I feel like that's on the cheaper side of a CEDH deck if you want to get there.
Yeah, that's fair. The interesting thing is it just shows how messed up tapped out is. Did you see the competitive meter?
No, what is it?
I'm just going to let you scroll down and see it.
74% casual? What? Wait,
so,
why?
But per tapped out, this deck is a level of power 2 or 3 on a scale of 10.
But like, it doesn't make any sense because it's like, I assume we're not going to be talking about it, but it has like Counterspell. It has all of the top tier, counter spells, Cyclonic Rift, right? Like it's $1,400. And so when I first looked through this, I was like, okay, I think I know what's going on here. This looks a little bit of a generic Urza build, but I was like, you know what? I was going through my notes. I was like, let's give it a shot. This deck is really good. It's insanely good, I would argue. I sent Mr. Combo a screenshot of my turn 2 where I had a turn 1 Urza and just went off to the races there. It seems like it's probably pretty insane. Now, it's also, if we're playing this at a high level, people are going to have counter spells, they're going to have removal, all that stuff. So I don't think just goldfishing it is going to be that good, right? But I was thinking about it this way, and you played more CEDH than I have. If you put yourself so far ahead that people are burning counter spells on turn 1 and 2 and using all their removal, they're going to be behind as well, right?
The argument there is they'll just have more. That's why, in this build, you don't see it a ton because we had to put more grains in to maximize Urza.
Sure.
But if you remember my turns and burns deck, I want to say my hop section was 50% of my deck.
Right.
And so that's more the thought. And especially as you add in the additional colors, now we even have more counter magic and we have ways to get our counter spells back. So more in the competitive world, it's, can I get you to burn them enough and then I can win on the next turn?
Got it. Okay.
That's more of what it is, because then they have to be able to draw enough to get more
there.
additional.
But I like in the 2 times I played like 3 or 4 hands, and I will admittedly I got a card in the opener that was like really broken. But the funniest part of it was in the first game I played, there was a card that I had on the chopping block as like slam dunk number 1. And I was like, no way. It's back in. We're back in, baby.
Oh man. Yeah, and I will say I did not build this solely on my own. Big shout out to SD Sharpie and Marketing Ross. Both of our Discord mods, they definitely kind of gave me some inspiration and kind of helped me build this out, because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just looking at it from my lens, but let's use some other people as well. Probably, and I know we're not going to talk about it, I doubt it. One of my favorite things to do when I was goldfishing the deck was to play Swiftfoot Boots, then use Swiftfoot Boots to tap itself, or using Urza to tap Swiftfoot Boots, then to equip it.
It's
incredible. And I just imagine like Dorothy like clicking her heels, like there's no place like home, and it's just like magic comes over Urza. It's great.
I have a lot of stories about that as well. I have Urza in exactly 1 deck and it's in my Brea deck that I never play, and I don't think I've ever drawn him. So it's like I don't know that I knew that he was strong, but like more like it's like hearing, like Candyman is strong. You're like, oh, I heard these stories, right? But I've never seen him myself.
Yep.
Also, the new Candyman movie, have you seen it? The one that came out last year?
Yes, I have.
What'd you think?
We liked it up until the end. The ending was very confusing to both of us.
Really? Because I liked it.
Yeah.
I loved the ending. I was big hype on the ending. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars and gave it a like. So 3.5 plus. What would you give it? Last movie thing for the day.
2.5 with not a recommend or unrecommend.
Just 2.5 flat.
Yeah, just
nice.
A flat 2.5.
Sure.
So some other things about the deck. We got a 2/7/7 CMC.
Crazy.
That's I would say it's probably right about right for a CEDH deck. I have seen some CEDH decks that like to be like 1/9, 2/1. So you could say it might be a little heavy there. From a breakdown, I did want to talk about this a little bit. We only have 29 lands in the deck.
Right.
That's okay. You may even cut a land from the deck at the end of it if you end up building it, because Urza being able to tap the artifacts for blue, and the key thing is it doesn't even matter if it has summoning sickness because Urza's doing the tapping.
Exactly.
So, you get around that completely. I think that's perfectly fine. Plus, we have a bunch of artifacts in here that just produce mana on their own.
Is it normal? So, I took like, I think in the 3, I played 5 games. 2 of them I just like ran through as quick as I could just to see if there's any cards I'm like, this is a stinker, right? But then the 3 I actually played through, I think I kept 1 land, 2 land, and 1 land. Is that normal in CEDH? It can't be, right?
Yeah, it is.
It is? Okay. Just because you run all the 0 and 1 drop mana rocks just to get out the gates? Okay. That makes sense.
And I mean, if you think about it, if you keep a 1-lander, it could be, that 1 land into Mana Crypt, into Grim Monolith, into this, into that. So, I mean, it could just be disgusting. Sure. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and start this off. This is a deck that was built for you. But before we could even get to that, we have to let people know how to support us. We have to. Patreon.com, guys. You probably see it on the ticker somewhere at the bottom there on YouTube and Twitch. Patreon.com/CMD Tower. Lots of different tiers. We actually just took some of our patron funds, and I'm getting a special soundboard that now we're going to be able to upload way more sounds into our podcast. We're not just restricted into what Zencastr uses. I know that we've had some compression issues with my audio coming through, so that'll get eliminated. We're looking into, once we start doing Twitch more, getting Tuck his own soundboard, I guess whenever he has a bigger desk.
I have no room for a
Apparently we
soundboard
have what's
right
called
now.
real estate issues. So all this stuff does go to improving that end experience for you. So anything you can do, patreon.com/CMD Tower. Tuck, ramp, and grain section.
Okay.
What do you got?
So I'm back on my bullshit, and I'm now choosing a slimy, a greasy, and a sweaty pick. Because I realized after some listeners had said that they've been listening since like day one, we've been not doing near enough bits. Not near enough bits in this podcast. So I want to start with one that I identified as slimy, but I think this is I think this is one of the cards in here that is a really unique include in this deck that I would like to see in more decks of this sort of build.
Okay.
And that one is a new card from Kamigawa that is one of these Bizarro reconfigure ones that's also has maybe the longest creature type I've ever seen on anything at all. And that card is the Reality Chip. So a colorless and a blue for an 0/4 legendary artifact creature equipment jellyfish. That is a rare. So this can be your commander, although I'm not sure why you would want that. You may look at the top card of your library at any time, just normal, right? Which I think is insane. Like, I think that's really good, right? For one colorless and one blue.
Sure.
And then as long as the Reality Chip is attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. And this card's only about $1.41. So in my opinion, if you're playing equipment decks, if you're playing artifact decks that care about these sort of things, I think this card is insanely good. In every game that I played, and we didn't talk about this earlier off of Urza, the artifact token that he created, especially on the early turns, was so strong, right? So strong. And being able to slap this on him, just having a creature that you can have that on there to kind of play off the top, especially when you start curving into some of your higher end, not infinite, but like tons of mana combos that you can have and continue to refuel your hand, I think is insane. I think this card's really, really good in this deck and in general.
Tuck, we have in this deck, let's do a little sorting. Because here's really where the power of this card in this deck come from with Urza. We have in the deck 15 1-drops. We also have 42 0-drops, but if you want to take out the 29 lands, what's that, 13? So we technically have 28 cards that cost 1 or less mana. Most of those cards are going to be artifacts.
Correct.
So that means when you have that thing equipped to Urza, you're playing it off the top, and then you're tapping it to play the next one off the top, to play the next one off the top, to play the next one off the top.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's bonkers, right?
And then there is one counter spell in the hop section that we may or may not talk to that has Storm. So then that's just even better. Because, you got to think about it. In a CEDH play group, not so much. But in your traditional North Carolina group, or if you're just at a Magic Fest and you just need to have a little bit stronger deck, people aren't going to immediately interrupt you. They're going to see you do it 5, 6, 7 times and be like, well, we can't have that.
Right, exactly.
Cyclonic Rift. And you're like, the Storm card with Storm count 11?
Right, yeah, exactly. We got you beat. So I thought it was a really cool include, and I think it's a really cool card in general. So good on you.
Well, I can't take credit for that. Pretty sure that was from our amazing mods, so I will give them all the credit in the world. Now, what I will take credit for is just knowing BigTuck. What was the one combo you noticed was not in this deck?
I don't know if I want to say it or not.
No, say it.
I don't want to. I'm not going to. Oh, wait, hold on.
Monolith Pyro Artifact.
Oh,
wasn't in the deck.
Okay, yes. And also to that, and also Labman. No, none of that.
Well, yeah, and I meant to say that earlier, guys. I purposely put in here, there is no infinite turns. There is no draw your deck, win the game. I took all of that out. So That's another reason why I think people are going to say, this isn't CEDH.
Right.
It's like, lick me. So, but here's the thing. This deck can produce stupid amounts of mana. Agreed?
Yes, 100%.
But you sometimes still need more because of the fact we don't have just like this infinite way to win. You kind of do need to like, I need to get into this. Sometimes you're using Urza's 5 ability, and when I play tested it, sometimes I'd use it 6 times in a turn just to get stuff.
Yeah, right.
So a way to double your mana is very impactful.
It is very
Doubling cube is kind of stupid in Urza builds.
It's very stupid.
So 2 colorless artifact, and I think this is probably one of the cards you do not own.
I do not.
So 3 colorless, tap it, double the amount of each type of mana in your mana pool, and it costs, let's just call it $18, right in the middle there.
Right.
So the thing I like about this card is it does double duty in this deck. Early game with Urza, it still taps for blue. It's not like it's wasted.
Right.
You know, that's always the argument against coffers. If you have Urborg out, Cabal Coffers really isn't that good.
Right.
This kind of gets around that with Urza. Second thing is then in your late game, and I did do this, Tuck, to where I was like, okay, let me play Doubling Cube. I could get these things. Do I have enough? And it's like, I was able to tap on like turn 4, and I ended up having 18 floating mana in my mana pool. I did Urza multiple times, got multiple artifacts, was able to do it for a 4th and 5th time. And it was just like, that was turn 4. I dumped 30 mana of free spells out there. It was disgusting.
I think there's a 4 or at least a 2 card combo that you could go infinite with this, which I like as well. Like there is an infinite combo that you can assemble, which we'll probably get to in the yeast section, which I just dawned on me because I'm kind of doing something for your Say Yes to the deck, which will be ready very shortly.
Ooh, fun.
Ooh, you're gonna like it.
I'm liking this. You know, you're lively. The last time we did a CEDH discussion, you were a little poo-pooey. I like that there's some energy with this.
I don't know. I just like, I hate to say this. I had like fun just running this through, right? Like it was just kind of fun to be like, this is.
And I will say in our mod's defense, they did tell me, Mr. Combo, if Tuck does not build this, you have to build it. And if you don't build it, we are building
Someone else is going to.
That's how excited people are about it. So I was pretty proud of that.
I think it's pretty strong.
What's your next grain, though? I'm so curious with your sweaty, slimy...
This one is one that I just sold. It's unfortunate, but I'm glad I sold it when I did because I got $70 for this card, and I've tried to jam it in almost every deck that I own. And finally, there's a deck where I got it out on turn 3. Another Kamigawa one. Is this you or no?
No.
Okay. Jin Gatax's Progress Giant. I knew this card would be in a deck on Brews and Builds. I knew it. Turn 3. I mean, I said this off cast. There were 2 games in a row that I played where I got Urza out on turn 1. It's bonkers. But anyways, this is my greasy pick because this is just a straight slam dunk into here, right? 5 colorless and double blue for a 5/5 legendary creature Phyrexian Praetor. It's a mythic for about $10. I got 60 out of mine that I opened, so that paid for a big chunk on the Aberduals.
This is $10 for the cheapest copy.
The cheapest one.
You did have the
super
legit
duper
one, right?
fancy
one, and all that, yeah.
But I'm glad to know that I could have traded that for 10 of these, which I won't do because I don't like this. Fair. I don't like this card in my playstyles. But anyways, whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. I think to your point, it doesn't say for the first. Oh, I'm sorry, it does. This ability only triggers once each turn. Damn it. I was like, I thought that was on the other one. Whenever an opponent casts an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, counter that spell, then it triggers only once each turn. Which, to your point, I think if you can get this out early, this is like free protection against removal spells, right? Because, like you're saying up front, people only have a finite amount of these, and getting them to burn 2 to do 1 effect is pretty solid, right?
And on top of that, now you're more talking about it from a hops perspective. Let's focus on the grain, because that's kind of why I had it here. I'll tell you this, Tuck. It's only in grains and not spice because its top end is so top end. Mm-hmm. But my argument to the mods was this card does nothing outside of turn 4. Like turn 4 and beyond, this card is unplayable because you've probably already dumped every like good artifact that you're trying to cheat out. Right. So this actually is one that if you decided to build this in real life, you could easily swap that for something else. And you wouldn't have to buy it again, like personally. But I will say from your hot perspective, you just focused on the double removal. Well, how about when they do the second spell, you then counterspell and you get 2 copies of your counterspell. So they actually have to
Oh,
use 3 pieces of removal to get rid of one thing on their
right.
turn.
Right. And I love, like, with these 0-drop artifacts, getting able to just get those doubled for free is pretty solid. But
Yep.
there was a card, I almost got that. I almost got him out on turn 2 in one of the games, but there's another card I wanted to play, and I just couldn't tap it, which we'll get to.
Sure. Well, my next one, so I kind of looked at it this way. How do we produce lots of mana? How do we get Urza out as soon as possible?
Yes.
And how do we enhance the value of what this deck is trying to do? So now we're talking about how you get Urza out as quick as possible. Tux alluded to it. He got it in his opening hand in 2 of his games. But I wanted to talk about just the uniqueness of this beautiful Lotus.
Oh, yeah.
Talking Jewel Lotus. Colorless, artifact, mythic, $82. Don't you still have one?
No, I never opened one. I never got one.
Oh, okay.
I kept waiting for the price to go down. I think it settled at like 70, and I was like, I'm not paying that. Don't you have one that you're not playing?
No, I used to have a full art foil one, but I traded it for and I still think I came out on top. I traded it for the Green Collection Premium.
Oh,
so
that's
the
right.
foil
Yes.
Sylvan Library,
Yeah.
Wolby Tutor. I think I still am about even there. So anyways, Jewel Lotus, tap it, sacrifice it, add 3 mana of any one color, spend this mana to only cast your commander. So it's pretty obvious, guys. You get this in your opening hand with an island, you have Urza out turn 1. Here's the thing I like about it, though.
So good.
Even if you get it turn 2 and you don't have Urza out, here's the cool thing. You don't have to use it for Urza. Urza will tap it for a blue mana. So the way I like this card is it's so modal. Turn 1, 100% crack that crap for Urza, get it out as soon as possible. But honestly, I've started thinking turn 2 and beyond, I don't know. Would I rather just have it as an extra mana rock that Urza's able to tap, or do I want to bin it?
And Urza's gonna get removed, right? And that's something you can't really play test against without trying to be like, okay, it's gonna die. So even if you draw this late game, aka turn 4 or whatever, it's still gonna have some your utility. And I never really believed in the strength of this card when it first came out. I remember all of us kind of panicked and ran for the hills for it, right? Myself included.
But then we all got super cool on it, though.
Yeah, and I will say, I think maybe that was one of the reasons why I was so excited, is getting a turn 1 Urza feels incredible, right? Like you feel like you're on top of the world no matter where you're sitting.
Absolutely. Well, give us your last grain card.
So this is my sweaty pick, and I know why they're in here.
Okay.
There's a lot of 0-drops, which I understand as to why, right? But I do not think that all 0-drops are made equally. So the one that I wanted to talk about is something that has an ability. And this one is one of those cards that back in the day we used to argue like, oh, you could put this in any deck. Probably it's showing a little bit of its tooth right now, but at least Spellbook lets you get something out of it. So it is a 0-drop artifact for $130. Insane. For an uncommon, and it just says you have no maximum hand size, right? So I did not have a problem with my hand size in any of the games that I played. But still, I do understand the point of having 0-drop artifacts because they just pretty much turn into sky diamonds for you. And I like this one that at least does something in case you do run into your draw spells, or if you are like storming off and then you have to end the turn, you can hold on to your whole hand for nothing, right?
And also, I that's offensive to these 0-drops. They're not sky diamond. Sky diamond comes in tapped. These are more like mana lifts.
Yeah, exactly. They're terrible. So I do like Spellbook. The other one. So, what do you think? Which would you rather put first into a deck, if you had to? This or Telepathy? And Telepathy, for what you don't know, is a 1-drop. It's 1 blue for an enchantment that lets you. All opponents have to play with their hands open.
I mean, in an Urza build, Spellbook, that's
Sure.
1,000% going in. Now, I will tell you this, Tuck, and you might like this. If you build this, I'd cut Jin Kataxis for Telepathy.
Oh, okay. Get a little peek.
You've taken 6 pips out, and now it's like, hey, I always want to know what you guys have.
Yeah.
I like that.
Good.
All right. Blade of Selves. Come
Now
on.
this one was
Let's go.
this was an interesting one. So do you put this on Urza or do you put it on the construct?
So we got Blade of Cells, 2 colorless, artifact equipment. It's a little under $4. It's a rare. Equipped for 4. Equipped creature has Myriad. Whenever it attacks for each opponent other than defending player, create a token that's a copy of the creature that's tapped at attacking that player or planeswalker they control. Exile the tokens at the end of combat. So this is here for Urza. You slap it on Urza. You create 2 more Urzas, which create 2 more constructs that stick around. The Urzas die immediately to Legend Rule. It's on here because you could throw it on your constructs.
Sure.
Create 2 additional constructs. That's an additional 2 power to each of your constructs. That's nothing to sneeze at. And it's also here for any of our other, I guess you would kind of call it utility cards that we have in the deck. Like, we didn't talk about it, but a Videlkin Archmage. Maybe if you have instant speed,
right,
it's like, okay, you know what? I need to draw like an additional 6 or 9 cards. Let me put this on the Archmage attack. Yeah, it's probably going to die, but let's get the 2. I'll cast some stuff at instant speed, draw a new grip, sacrifice the Archmage because it'll get blocked and killed. And then, so I think there's going to be some different value plays that you could do with it. But at its core, it's here for either Urza to get you 2 additional constructs, which is our strategy, or just 2 additional constructs in general, which will increase our power, which still increases the strategy.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. I'm here for it. I like it. Little out there for CEDH. I'm here for it.
And it's a freaking mana rock for 2 mana.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. It is a sky. It's even a better Sky Diamond. There you go.
It is just a better Sky Diamond.
It's Arcane Signet Part 2.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up the grain section. Before we head over to the next one, we would love for you to check out our Etsy store, Etsy.com. If you just type CMD Tower into the search bar, you'll be able to find it. Great thing is I'm actually going over to Nance's tonight to hang out with Marketing Ross and a bunch of the boys, play some cards, and we're going to do some... I can't remember what they call it. Scene shots, character shots, where it's like us playing with our gear, so we get like live action gameplay photos. So hopefully the Etsy store will have way better pictures. Like if you see those action shots of like the father and son playing catch, or
sure,
stuff like that. So hopefully that stuff will improve. But seriously, go on there. Any of the merch that you guys buy, once again, goes back into trying to make this channel better. And we can't do new merch until you guys buy the old merch. So please go out there, buy it. We always do stuff. It's a limited run. So once it's gone, it's gone. And we already have a bunch of new ideas for future stuff we'd like to do. So remember, Etsy.com, CMD Tower in the search bar. Now we're going to head over to how this deck is going to interact with the board with the hot profile. And Tuck, I've never really... We've talked about this card. I don't own one. I thought it was fine. But then I was like, man, an Urza getting protection from everything except for blue seems real good. And it's a mana rock. Commander's Plate.
Sure.
Seems stupid.
Yeah, it seems very strong.
Single colorless mythic artifact equipment for about $15. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and has protection from each color that's not in your commander's color identity. You can equip it for 5. Or equip it to a commander for 3. So you get a 1-drop mana rock whenever Urza's out, and then you slap that on Urza, arguably better than Lightning Greaves, because now you can at least target Urza with your own stuff. Really, really like it. And don't sleep on that +3/+3 in the protection. Maybe it's late game. Throw that onto a construct.
Right.
Maybe you can't block nothing. Well, I'm just going to beat you for 28.
So I did run into a few games where I did get a handful of equipments, which we'll get to later. So is it ever worth to power up Urza to get him to 7 or 8 to start swinging in for commander damage? No. It's way too slow, right?
Yeah, the only thing that you're throwing on Urza from an equipment perspective is to protect Urza, and that's it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do like this card a lot, though, and like we talked about on our party time episode, still really haven't found a spot for it.
Well, hey, now you got one. All right, 19 others to go. What did you pick? Because I feel like we might sync up on one.
I think there might be 2. I'm gonna go with the greasy pick because I think that if you can get yourself to untap in this game, in this deck, nothing else is really going to matter, right? So this pact, to me, probably doesn't really have that much of a downside to it. And that card is Pact of Negation. So CEDH staple, I would assume. 0 drop, instant, counter target spell. At the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 3 colorless and double blue. If you don't, you lose the game. It's around $10. So the way I look at this is, the way after I was playing it was like this, was there's so many times that I got to my untap step where I was like, I have plenty of mana, right? The time before, if someone tried to remove my board or try to disrupt me, it doesn't matter, right? I'm going to be off to the races with Urza out. So this doesn't really have that much of a drawback, right? I already have 10 mana on turn 3. So eating half of that and then going into dropping more mana rocks and all these things seems like it wasn't that big of an issue. Now, I know there's probably times where, this could backfire on you if someone destroys an artifact and you're just short of 1 mana. But for me, just having this in your back pocket and being able to be like, they're going to try to stop me. If I can stop them stopping me, I win the game, is well worth it for this sort of entry level price, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think people need to think about it. Yes, Urza lets us tap the artifact stuff. So it's like, oh, well, you could be using that mana for other spells. But I think we just need to understand that's just something unique about Urza. So when I look at Pact of Negation, I think about, from a traditional sense, my lands and mana producing artifacts like your Soul Rings. Those are the resources that I'm losing to Pact of Negation. And that's going to slow me down and like, do I want to spend that investment? But in Urza, I can literally tap Spellbook, Paradise Mantle, Jeweled Lotus, because it can only be used for my commander, Foundry Inspector, a freaking creature, and I can tap Extra Planar Lens. Those are all 5 things that do not have any tap activated abilities without Urza. So it's like, why do I care that these things that are otherwise useless, if I didn't stop that board wipe, or if I didn't stop that removal spell, like, these wouldn't have been able to do anything either way. So that's really the way that I look at it. If you're having to tap your lands and your mana producing mana rocks, okay, I can hear an argument about Pact of Negation. But if you're tapping things that normally wouldn't be able to tap, then no. Don't come at me with that.
Yep, agreed wholeheartedly. So if I'd had that in my opener in one of the games, I think I would have been able to stop anyone with doing anything, no matter what, on turn like 2 through 4. So worth the price.
All right. Well, for my second hop, I wanted to try to figure out a way. They burned through our removal, and it's like they're like, yes, we're destroying Urza. Team, we did it. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to regenerate Urza?
This is my sweaty. Like this is my sweaty pick. This is the sweaty pick. It's
3,
dripping.
2, 1.
Herbal Poultice.
Love it. 0 drop
it's
artifact.
So greasy.
No, sweaty.
It's sweaty. I'm sorry. It's so sweaty. It's dripping.
0 drop artifact. You can pick it up for a quarter. It's a common.
I think a quarter. This
mana.
should have been a cent. There's no way this is worth 22 cents.
Watch, it's actually like in 100% of Urza decks. 3 colorless, sacrifice Herbal Poultice. Now, I just guys want you to hold on to that. What I did not say. Just kind of think about what I didn't say. Regenerate target creature. Really, what Herbal Poultice says is 2 mana, sacrifice it. Sorry, 2 mana, tap, sacrifice, regenerate target creature. Because it's an artifact. Why not for 2 mana?
Yeah.
Just on the spot to be able to keep it. And the thing I love about this is that even if you need to tap Herbal Poultice to do stuff on your turn, as long as you still have 3 mana through some other sources, you can still sacrifice it to regenerate Urza. Who the hell cares if you've tapped this thing? Best secret tech of the deck. And I guarantee, Tuck, people are going to forget about that card.
Yes. Oh,
when it's like time to finally get rid of you.
So the only question I agree on all stops. It's a ridiculous card, very silly, but like I guess what's scarier? Or I imagine it's both, right? What's scarier in CEDH, counter spells or targeted removal on creatures, right? It's both, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see...
Because like Assassin's Trophy is probably an all-star in any deck that can run it, right?
Yep. Beast Within probably still sees
Oh,
play.
sure.
Oh, Pongify.
Yes.
All of that's going to
Rapid
be in there.
hybridization. Yeah.
Yep. So I look at CEDH this way, or the competitive landscape. If it's 2 mana, I've even heard as fringe. It's kind of the 1 mana or less removals. Those are the ones that you need to worry about. So I guess, Chuck, if it's like if you were to build a graph, how many free 0 and 1, and I would put counter spells on the 2-drop as well. 2 mana or less counter spell list versus the 1 mana or even 2 mana or less targeted list. I bet you there's probably more counter spells than removal. So that's probably still the threat, but you still got to worry about removal,
Right.
especially because, once again, I wasn't trying to build you a deck that only has a home at CEDH tables. You've talked about how your play group, it's like living in the red zone. And
Right.
you know what? You might need to block with Urza than regenerate it.
Yeah.
Save your bacon.
I can't. Well, I could tell you this much. I cannot play this deck in our current landscape.
What? Really?
It'd be unbeatable. There's no way. No one really runs blue. And then the other thing too, I was just thinking about
like
was
their problem.
what? Yeah, right. I imagine this is one of the rare decks. Well, I guess like Fatal Push is a premier removal spell, right? And I'm guessing it's probably pretty good in CEDH because like it gets Vial Smasher and the other one that goes with that. It'll get Urza because it has the CMC 4 or less, that sort of thing. So even that is like a good counter example to myself of these things are here. And before we go any further, because we both matched that one, I know you're a big fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm a big fan of his as well. Do not be fooled, people. This Steve Austin's Broken Skull American Lager that cost me like $12 for a 4-pack is trash. It's it's disgusting. I like his Skullbreaker IPA, but this is not good. Not good at all. Sorry, Steve. Don't come give me a stunner, please.
Oh, that totally sounded like something else, but we'll move past that. Why don't you give us your last hop card?
So, this one is a little slimy, and again, I think this is a very good indication of a card that I like, because if for some reason your construct gets blown up, your army of construct blows up, Urza gets blown up, you need something to slap all this stuff into, right? Especially a card we'll be talking about a little bit later. You need to connect to make more copies of this thing. And
I think we actually matched on this as well. No way. You called it. Matched on 2.
What's the percentage chance that if you're playing CDH, someone at the table is playing blue in a 4
80%.
Oh, I think
80%.
I think it's even higher. I think it's like 90 to 95.
Well, some of the metas have started to see more it's the Corvold colors.
Oh, Jund.
Right? Jund.
Yeah.
You are starting to see Jund. You do see a lot of Golgari. So it's just, I would say it's about 80% that there's blue there, which, I mean, you think about it, with 4 people, guaranteed every game's going to have someone with an island.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why 3,
Thada.
2, 1. You have to do the bit. 3, 2, 1.
Thada Adele
Acquisitor. I think it's a really interesting inclusion. So the colorless double blue for legendary creature Merfolk Rogue. That's $9, which kind of blows my mind. It's a 2/2 with Island Walk. Whenever Thada Adele Acquisitor deals combat damage to a player, search that player's library for an artifact card and exile it. That player shuffles their library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. Soul Ring, second copy of Jeweled Lotus, Mana Vault, Mana Crypt. Like it keeps going, right? Like, and that's just the mana rocks. Like, imagine anything else. She's gonna be able to swing in for damage, 10 damage maybe, not quite as big as a construct, but to me this is like if Urza is your first guy, right? I had argued the construct token that he makes is your second. This is clearly the third, in my opinion. This is like the third strongest creature that you're going to see out there. That's how I feel. I didn't get to see it. Unfortunately, I was hoping that I'd be able to mulligan and see it out. I just think this card is really unique and really fun in this build.
Yeah, so you're thinking in a casual mindset. So once again, but that's why I put this card at the deck. It's because I thought it would work well in your play group, but apparently you're just going to be pup stomping children. So this card is 100% a hop card. You will not win with this card in CEDH, period. End of story. It's not going to happen. But the reason it's here is literally every single person plays artifacts. Everyone.
Oh, sure. Yes. Right.
Everyone. So go grab some more mana. Go get some more mana rocks.
Absolutely.
Go get some more sky diamonds. Maybe you get a sad robot, and so you get to go tutor a land. Like, that's kind of cool. Maybe you get their big scary artifact creature like a Darksteel Colossus. Like, yeah, that's great. But I really just look at this as number one, we're taking away your opponent's value, because the cool thing is it doesn't say if you don't cast it till end of turn, they shuffle it back into their library. So it's great to remove things
Their
that,
biggest
you know
problematic,
what? I'm pretty sure Stacy has Nev's disc in her deck and she's talked about it. Let me hit her and get that exiled out of here, so that way I don't have to worry about that board wipe. Or Oblivion Stone's another one. Hey, let me get rid of their Oblivion Stone so that way I don't have to worry about it. But it can have a fringe yeast packet, or it can have a legit yeast package in your North Carolina play group, but in CEDH, no.
Yep, I agree. And I mean, if you're up against anyone else, like you're playing a Brea person, there's so many targets, right?
Oh my gosh.
Like
anything you want.
Yeah, anything you can handle.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up the hop section. Now, before we head over to the game winners, and it's going to be a long discussion, but you're not going to hear a lot about different cards, because it's pretty much one card kind of drives it. But we would be remiss if we didn't talk about our amazing sponsor over at abyssproxyshop.com. They do playtest and proxies of Magic cards out there. They offer a 10% discount with code CMD Tower. So anything you purchase and using that particular code, you're going to be helping out our channel. But also, it's combinable with their other discounts. I think they do a thing. If you spend $99 or more, you get a free proxy set of Aber Duels, which is kind of cool. You can go on there, type in the word custom to see all my mystical archive or any other custom art that they've done for other people. Plus, you guys will be hearing about this, unfortunately, a week too late. But on our Twitch stream on July 11th, we did give away some pretty cool ones. I'm showing it here on YouTube, like the Goofy Murder and the Child for Soul Ring. Just some great stuff like that. So anything that you need. And hey, if you're trying to build a CEDH deck and you can't afford to buy another copy of Deadeye, whatever, go to Abyss. Just use the Magic Online rules. That's what all of us do, and you can do it too. abyssproxyshop.com, code CMD Tower. Now we're going to head over to the yeast package. And Tuck, before you start, I want to do this as like a level set. Let's talk about Intruder Alarm by itself. Just by itself. So, because for me, the way that I did mine is I wanted to talk about the lines that I kind of built in the deck for you, but all of them have to deal with this card.
Sure.
So, Intruder Alarm, guys, is an enchantment, 2 colorless blue. Creatures don't untap during the controller's untap steps, and whenever a creature comes into play, untap all creatures. It's about $15 to $20. So there's a lot of lines that you need for Intruder Alarm. But, Tuck, hopefully you'll appreciate, if Intruder Alarm gets blown up, it's gone. There is
you cannot get it back.
Getting it back.
Yes.
You cannot get it back.
Oh, that is not necessarily true, because you did, in someone's infinite wisdom, put an elixir of immortality in here.
Oh,
so you can kind of get it back.
Get it back. But
also,
there's no way to tutor it specifically from the graveyard.
So if Murder is your favorite black card ever printed, Intruder Alarm has to be your favorite blue. And I assume this is your inclusion into the deck?
Well, this was the only way to make it work and have you win off combat damage.
I don't disagree, but I'm still saying this was. I assume this was still your idea. I'm not saying for wrong.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, this whole deck was my idea.
Right. So, but what did surprise me when I came down and found, Intruder Alarm. I see, but it works very well in many ways. That I think there's a few ways that even you might have overlooked it in good ways. So this does play into the combo with Doubling Cube that we'll get to at some point before the end of the yeast for our infinite manas.
I know what you're talking about. I hadn't thought of that.
That's right. I think you see what I'm getting at.
So, anyways, Intruder Alarm will be at the core of a lot of these guys. We just wanted to take a few minutes and at least kind of discuss the importance of it. It's the untapping all the creatures, which obviously Urza allows us to use for mana. So, that out of the way, Tuck, what is the first card you want to talk about from a yeast package perspective?
All right. I'm going to start with the Sweaty and work my way backwards. Okay. So the sweatiest one in here is the one that I talked about earlier, that I was able to keep equipping itself to the construct when Urza was out, then keep making more copies of it that kept equipping themselves to the same construct. And that card is, of course, Bloodforged Battle Axe. All-Star, what a blowout. So, and I wish I would have taken a picture of the board that just had a army. It was like 6 tapped Bloodforged battle axes. So, for those who don't know, 1 colorless for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, thanks Sada Adele, create a token that is a copy of Bloodforged battle axe as equipped 2. So, I love it. It's so great. You still have like 16 copies of this that you still are way up on.
Yep.
I think they might have reprinted it recently, but
Yeah, they did.
But still, they're $10 a piece, and you have 10 copies of them. So to me, this is just like another. You talked about like the Swift Foot boots clicking its heels and equipping it. This one's like banging the Bloodforged battle axe onto the construct's armor and then recreating
That's
itself.
not bad. I only got 3. I mean, sitting in my token binder, I have 3.
Right, exactly.
But what many decks are in?
Exactly. So I think this is another like slam dunk fun inclusion into this, right? The fact that it turns into a 1 mana blue mana source pretty quickly. I think I got this out. I think one of my turn 1 plays was Island, Soul Ring, Jeweled Lotus, Urza, tap the construct, play Bloodforged battle axe. Turn 1. Amazing.
And then that still leaves you with 3 mana with the Soul Ring and the Bloodforged battle axe. That's
exactly. Yeah, it was incredible.
So
absolutely incredible.
Yeah, this is an absolute auto include, but I think it only works in the Urza competitive build that I've done.
Yes, I agree.
It doesn't provide any value outside of literally being like a quote unquote Lotus Petal, where it's just a 1-for-1 on the mana side.
Right.
Because you don't get the additionals unless you do the combat damage piece. So I was like, hey, you know what? We're leaning into this. Tuck should be hitting someone every single combat if he's playing it right. And hey, Bloodforged battle axe just making more and more is just really gross.
I love it. It was great.
All right. Well, my first line I wanted to talk about is the aforementioned Intruder Alarm, Eye Navigator, and at least 1 artifact creature when you have all this out. So Eye Navigator, guys, 4 colorless blue creature spirit. That's a 5/5 for $8. When did that used to be a lot more expensive? I can't remember price, right? I thought it was like a $20 card.
Yeah, I think so too, but I don't think it sees. I think people have kind of stopped playing it. Like, when was the last time you saw Eye Navigator go off?
Me last weekend.
Oh, fair enough.
As long as Eye Navigator is paired with another creature, each of those creatures have pay a colorless, pay a blue, exile this creature, then return it to the battlefield under your control. And the key thing for Eye is it has Soul Bound or Soul Bond. You may pair this creature with another unpaired creature. When either enters the battlefield, they remain paired for as long as you control both of them. And so here's essentially the line that you would do. You go in, you tap you basically have to produce your 2 mana.
Right.
Blink Urza. Urza comes back. It brings a buddy with it. When it brings that buddy, it's going to untap your other construct or your other artifact creature that you use for the blue mana. You now have 2 mana. You have now unlocked infinite constructs.
Yes.
With Eye Navigator and Urza, which we don't have a way to give them all haste immediately. So you do have to kind of wait to do your rigmarole unless you want to do it like in step and then you do it all to kind of surprise them. But you can't really shock people with a Eye Navigator on Urza. They'll see it coming a mile away.
Right.
So I just really like this card as a way to get you 1,000 constructs, and then Tuck, you could be like, okay, you see the card art on Urza? I'm actually gonna do that.
Yes, I have completed this. Yeah, I want to. I wish there was a way that you could like seed an opening hand with a card to see how it goes. I guess you could, right? You just tutor for it.
No, you absolutely. Yeah, you just tutor, and then whatever other card you drag it over, and then shuffle a bunch.
Yeah. So like, I want to play it because I'm worried. As fast as this deck goes, do you think it's fast enough to get it out? It should be, right? Yeah. Okay.
Because think of it this way: if you get let's go turn 2 Urza. Turn 3, you very realistically can get Eye Navigator out.
And blink it at least once, right?
Yep.
Probably.
The challenge is getting that Intruder Alarm.
Yes, right.
You got to figure out ways to be able to go get that, because I have one way in the deck to be able to go tutor for it.
Right.
All right, Tuck, second yeasty card or combo.
So the slimy one, which I love a bunch, is an instant, which is key for the cuts and ads sections that I think you're really going to like. And it's an expensive instant, but it's really going to...
Like CMC or money-wise?
CMC.
Let's go.
Ready? 3, 2,
1.
What? Masterful replication. How fun. 5 colors and a blue for an instant from M20 for 16 cents. Choose one. Create 2 3/3 colorless golem creature art black. Create 2 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature tokens. And then the second one is choose target artifact you control. Each other artifact you control becomes a copy of that artifact until end of turn. Love it. Because now all these mana rocks just turn into these constructs, and then they get the buff from it. And now you're swinging in, untap, play this card. You're off to the races on like turn 4, right? And you just have this army of constructs that all see each other.
So is this the card that you were saying combos a doubling cube?
It wasn't the one.
Because it doesn't. Okay.
It wasn't the one that I was thinking. There's another one in here. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I love this card. I mean, there's some other cards in here. I mean, are you talking about the big boy that's in here, or any of the big boys that are in the East package?
I'm talking about the biggest boy in here. Yeah, I think so.
Oh, the one that everyone hates and gets upset about?
Yeah.
Okay. So not highlighting that one, but like we have Phyrexian Triniform in here, Wormcoil Engine, Triplicate Titan. So it's like, yeah, you could do the construct piece, and that's why I think this deck is fun, Tuck, because it's like, oh, I got 15 artifacts. Okay. Would I like 15s? Yeah, I'd like that.
I would love that, yes.
But if it's like you got 4, you know what? I think I'd rather have 5 Wormcoil Engines.
Right.
Let's do that instead. That's a lot. So I just like the fact that you could be modal in your decision on when you kind of do this. And it could even be used as a save your bacon. I got to protect myself. I'm getting swarmed out. Let's make
I need to stop something. Or like we always forget like the last bit about the Urza, right? Like, okay, instead I want a gazillion mana crypts, right? And now I'm just going to spin Urza the entire time for the rest of the turn and pray what happens. Yeah. So like, I think that's probably worst case scenario. But I have a card that this is going to go so bonkers with in the cuts and ads that I don't want to talk anymore about it, or else I'm going to spill the beans because I'm terrible at it.
Well, my last Yeast card is another Intruder Alarm combination card to kind of talk through the line. This one, we actually need 4 artifact creatures to do, and Retrofitter Foundry. So this is one that SD Sharpie wanted to add, and I do agree it works. It's so mana hungry to get it going that I'm a little less hot on it, but let's talk through it.
Sure.
Retrofitter Foundry is a single colorless $21 card.
It's so
crazy.
Good. It's so good.
It's an artifact. It's a rare. 3 mana, untap Retrofitter Foundry. 2 mana, tap, create a 1/1 colorless servo creature token. 1 colorless, tap, sack a servo, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Tap, sacrifice a Thopter, create a 4/4 colorless construct artifact creature token. So with your 4 artifact creatures, you still need Urza, but now we don't need the Deadeye. We don't need to blink. You essentially pay your 2, create your token, you tap that token, you tap your other ones, it untaps the Retrofitter Foundry, the Intruder Alarm's untapping all your stuff.
Right.
And now you can basically create infinite servos. And I guess you could end up, once you had enough servos, convert them to Thopters with flying. So it's like, I need the evasion. Let me go through that line. Oh, you know what? I actually need the bodies. So let me create 4, turn those into 4/4 colorless. It's just basically, once you have your rigmarole, you can basically have infinite 4/4 colorless constructs, colorless flying Thopters, or on the ground servos.
Right.
So kind of, I wanted some ways to repetitively make sure that, hey, if they get rid of Deadeye, we still have another way to create the army that we're looking for.
Totally. I completely agree. And I think this will play nicely into, this is the combo with Doubling Cube. Like Rise and Shine is the one I was thinking of, because you can Rise and Shine Doubling Cube, it becomes a creature, and then you can just make infinite mana. And in similar scope, you can cut out the middleman if you Rise and Shine on Retrofitter Foundry, because they'll just keep untapping itself to go into the rest of the line, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
So it all makes a lot of sense. Rise and Shine is an all-star card.
All right, Tuck, give us your last Yeast card.
All right. We mentioned it before. I hate this card. I got blown out to it a week ago on turn 4. And my last pick was
I was about to say, now you died to this in turn 4. Wouldn't you love to kill that same person on turn 3 with this deck?
no, because I'd like to make them suffer. And that's what I learned when I playtested this, because it was going to be Blightsteel Colossus. But in fact, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's fucking Winter Orb.
Really?
I was going to cut this fucking card. I hate this card. It's so greasy. I hate all of it. But as soon as I read your very nice write-up, which I appreciated, and I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. When I play tested this, I got this out turn 2 and was like, this game is over. There's no one could come back to this because this card was made so long ago when tapping artifacts mattered. So here we go, guys. First time ever on the podcast. First time ever in my life. Winter Orb. Slam dunk. I believe I put this in as the greasy pick of the day. 2 colorless for an artifact for $11. As long as it's untapped, players can't untap more than 1 land during their untapped steps. Guess what? When you have a turn 1 Urza, you get to untap both of your lands, I suppose, but no one else does. This was a card that prevented me. I realized that this card was too good to tap to play into a Jin-Gitaxias to get him turn 2, so I had to wait for turn 3. It has to be good, right? Like, if you can get it out turn 1, like, there's only so many free mana sources in the entire game, right?
Yep.
And I hate to say it, but I was going to be, as soon as I saw it, I was like, cutting this card, not talking about it, don't even want to think about it. But the fact I got it turn 1 or turn 2 and was able to manipulate the entire table, it's freaking insane.
This card is amazing turn 2, like you talked about, because it's going to literally slow everyone down.
Right.
You know what's almost even better? Where people feel like they have you on the rope. And turn 9, you play this, and they've already tapped out to like deal with you. It's like, hi, now you're just gonna watch me crab. You're pooping
every day, every turn. It's amazing. And this was the thing when I was playtesting this earlier. Is like, have I turned into the monster? Have I looked into the mirror? Have I looked into the mirror too long and realized that this is who I've been this entire time?
God,
very upsetting.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up the Yeast package. We're going to head over to our final section of the deck before we get to the slashing that Tuck's going to do. And let's get to Spice. We had very few options, which you should in a competitive deck.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't have a lot of fringe things. But, Tuck, you know which card I had to talk about? The one that I've owned many, many copies of that has, unfortunately, been outclassed because I've upgraded my mana bases. I wanted to have this in here, though, because it can be a Sky Diamond for 1 mana. But I think you need... Because, once again, I'm thinking of your play groups.
Right.
I'm thinking of you being in these groups. Amulet of Vigor is going to bail you out of hot water if you do come up with someone with the blind obediences of the world, things like that.
Absolutely.
Colorless artifact, $25. Crazy.
Yeah.
Whenever a permanent ETB's tapped and under your control... untap it. It's as simple as that. People have things that make creatures come in tapped. This is going to help you with that, even because you do need your creatures untapped. Even though the summoning sickness doesn't matter, Urza still taps the artifacts to get the blue mana. Right. Your lands, you do have a handful of non-basics in here, and they are like fillers. You know, your Polluted Deltas, Misty Rainforest, Flooded Strand, Passage. So you're going to need those things to come in untapped because your whole thing is to thin your deck with those cards. So I just felt with as much artifact and creature hate as out there, it would really suck to sit down and try to play this deck. And then it's like, well, my deck's turned off. Very similar to how my Sovereign deck turned off Top Cop.
Yes, right.
During that
Just
stream.
one thing, yeah. It makes sense. This is like... I think this is a good Spice card because it's almost like a sideboard card, right? Where you don't always need it, but if you're playing against humans or someone that is playing a Staxy kind of deck, you need something to fight through it, right? It's easily tutorable with the Urza Sagas of the world, which we didn't even talk about. Urza Saga is probably unbeatable in this deck as well, like it is in most decks it goes in. So What? I know you're not as hot on it, but I'm telling
I'm not
you.
as hot. SD Sharpie, I included it in the deck because I essentially just cut a island for
Yeah,
it, and I was
yeah.
fine with that. But he made the point of like, okay, turn 1 to get you the colorless. Turn 2, you make a construct. Turn 3, before you draw, you're going to make another construct, and then go
And go
tutor for
get
your
something
0/1
else, right?
drop.
Go get
Yeah.
your Jeweled Lotus, whatever you need.
Yep. All right. What's your spice card? We got 3
We got,
cards. I want to take a gander. Is it the big mythic that almost seems unplayable in most decks?
no, that was going to be it. Mostly because I want to talk about how that card's tanked in price. I chose this one because if we are so, I feel like you cannot build this deck without having a backup plan, right? And combat may not be an option. So instead, we're just gonna have to lock out the game, and everyone's gonna have to go boohoo and go home and cry. So if we're going like in for a penny, in for a pound, right? And the other reason why is because I wanted to torture everyone out there with this
Oh, come on.
stupid
Don't
old
read
school.
this.
Yes,
Don't
we
read
are.
this.
You put it in the deck. I'm reading it how it is in the deck. We were talking about our old pal Karn, the Great Creator. 4 colorless for a Planeswalker legend. Does it have loyalty? I don't know. Opponents' artifacts can't activate. Put 5 loyalty. Use counters on Karn. Opponents attack Karn as though he were you. Any damage he suffers depletes that much loyalty. If Karn has no loyalty, he abandons you. During your turn, you may add 1 loyalty to target non-creature artifact turn target creature artifact into a target artifact creature with both power and toughness equal to its casting cost until your next turn. Or you may spend 2 loyalty to put an artifact card from outside of the game in italics into your hand. So that I'm also going to read for that. And also, you cannot play a competitive, strong blue artifact deck without having Microsynth Lattice and Karn the Great Creator in it. Because if I'm forcing you to untap 1 land a turn, then guess what? You don't get to untap any of them. You don't get to do anything for the rest of the game.
You don't get to untap shit.
And I'm just gonna blast you in the face with my 6/6 with my 6/6 construct creature that has 17 Bloodforged battle axes attached to it over and over and over again. You're sick. You could have put any version of this, and you chose this.
No, I did what you do. It's just whatever version.
Whatever it
gives
is?
me.
Okay.
Like whatever the recent one is.
I thought you were doing this to
will say-
torture me.
No. So I will say the one good thing about this old school way that they wrote these out, I will say this. I do have a positive. I had never heard the position of if Karn has no loyalty, he abandons you.
Right.
I like the fact that it's like, hey, he didn't die. He's just like, you're not as hot as I thought you were, so I'm gonna go hang out with some other people, and maybe I'll come back if you want to bring back and show me that it's worth my loyalty. So that's kind of why I like that old school. But I agree, it's in the spice because it literally doesn't do anything without Microsynth Lattice.
Right. Yeah.
But it fringe can turn in your doubling cube into a creature, and now you don't even need the other stuff.
You don't need the construct.
The Rise and Shine, or that you could just kind of boom roll with that, and now you got your infinite mana to an extent. So love this card. Glad that you talked about it. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up the spice package. Now we're going to head over to the bottle capping. And as a reminder, this will be BigTuck and I's cuts and adds to the deck. They're going to be under $5, under 50, and a no budget recommendation. We just can't talk about mana only lands.
Nailed it. Okay.
Nailed it.
We'll be right back. Twitch and YouTube. Don't even worry about it. This is the old school way of doing this.
Wait. What are you doing? We got a phase out. Oh, yeah. Phase is out. Sorry, Twitch and YouTube. You guys just have to stare at me filibustering for however long. This is uncomfortable. Ooh, who wants spoilers about Kenobi? Did you guys know that Luke Skywalker actually time traveled? He went back in time and actually almost did like a Back to the Future. He met his mom, Padme, and she was like, ooh, you're kind of hot. And he was like, dang, girl, like, come on. I'm Mark Hamill in real life, but like, chill out. I'm supposed to be your son. And then eventually he got, her connected with his dad, who, is a murdering psychopath and Anakin Skywalker. So a little spoiler for Kenobi. You actually get a little flashback of that. I didn't know time travel was in Star Wars. What else? The Godfather that you guys have probably heard about. Bought this disgusting Mountain Dew flaming hot drink. So 170 calories, 1 can. It's disgusting with 44 grams of sugar.
What is this?
Oh, I was just filibustering because you didn't do the phased out thing or the we be right back. All the hard work that we've already put into this channel. So I'm just over here blabbing.
I haven't figured it
time.
out yet. I've been too busy figuring out how to do the scroll text and have my
You know
camera.
what? You can figure out how to hold your bladder.
I know. This is the first bathroom break we've taken since we started streaming.
So 2 weeks.
I mean, that's a record in its own right, is it not?
Well,
and
make
for those,
sure you get your video on the caster.
yes, and also for those playing the home game online, I'm finishing the last of this disgusting Steve Austin beer. So, ugh.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to tell people about this disgusting Mountain Dew flaming hot Cheeto drink.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I didn't. The Godfather bought it.
Is it good?
Not me.
Have you had one yet?
Hell no. Get out of here.
Did you know that in Tennessee you can buy Mountain Dew hard? It's 5% Mountain Dew with Baja Blast, Code Red, normal, and one other. It's like lime or something.
100% they did that because I know in Tennessee it's real popular, like it is in Missouri, to do those like dirt track motorbike races and stuff.
Yeah.
I bet you there's a bunch of Kyles and Chads that are just like drinking Mountain Dew and Monster like it's going out of style. They're like, how can we tap into this untapped market? Let's make it about as alcoholic as a Smirnoff Ice.
Now, before we go back to the recording, you have had requests from people in Twitch to drink it.
You're a liar. You're a liar.
I'm not. Leia Zay, a new patron, said drink it on stream.
Son of a bitch. All right. Well, how about this? Because I can't see the chat with how my Twitch is set up. So, question for the people watching. Do you guys want this to be a Twitch YouTube exclusive? Or would you like me to hit record and I'll do it so the audio audience can hear as well? Oh, I'm getting nauseous.
Leia Zaya sent a hype emoji. They also sent a lols emoji. We're waiting. I think we're still waiting.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and crack it.
Yes.
So you guys can see me open.
And smell it.
That doesn't actually smell too bad.
Okay, they said let everyone experience the pain.
Oh God. Can you guys see that?
That looks
color?
like urine.
It looks like urine when you haven't drank water in like a week and all you've been doing is boozing. Like that is your liver being like,
you're not going to chug you're not going to chug that, right?
No, of course. Oh God, the spices hit my tonsils. All right, I'm hitting record now.
Okay,
audio audience. You've missed about 10 minutes of great content. You guys should definitely go watch it on YouTube and Twitch. Tuck, while I mentally prepare myself, let them know what I'm about to do.
Yes. So, Mr. Combo, while I was using the bathroom, was talking about a drink just to fill time for the live audiences on YouTube and twitch.tv/CMD Tower. He had said that a friend of the cast, The Godfather, had given him a drink that was Mountain Dew Flaming Cheeto flavored. So we are now live going to have him. He just poured it into his cup, which he's probably going to have to throw away because I don't know.
100%.
I don't know how you come back from that. And he's going to now taste it live for your listening and for your viewing pleasure.
Couple things to point out. One, I love how on the back of the can they do have to highlight contains 0% juice. Bruh, we get it. We get it. Second thing, Tuck is right. I'm gonna have to throw away this cup. If anyone in the collective knows anyone at NASA that, when they send trash into the sun, I think that's the only thing that can probably get rid of this.
And also, this is like a sort of nice throwback when I would torture you by having you drink IPAs and stuff like that way back when we were doing this live.
That's true. All right.
All right, here we go.
Okay. It tastes just like Mountain Dew. It just has this weird smell bite of Flamin' Hot Cheetos. So it actually doesn't taste bad.
So for those, I wish we could have recorded this back when you used to drink the beers that I'd give you, because his reactions were so violent and angry when I'd give him a good $9 a bottle IPA. Oh God! Oh, and this one, you're like enjoying it, ish. I
No,
guess.
I am not enjoying it. I do not like Mountain Dew. I am not Spencer Rabbits, but I mean, this really didn't have any heat in it. I almost wonder because I think The Godfather bought these. Oh no, they're still good. They don't expire till October. So I was gonna say maybe it spoiled and all the heat went away.
Yeah, it just evaporated in the can. Who knows?
Oh man. Well, thank you, Laze patron. You are on notice. You are on thin ice. These are bits that have been brought back from the dead.
Yes. Oh my God, we totally got to bring these back. I forgot all about that.
All right, Tuck. You're the only one who gets cuts into ads.
Okay.
Hit me with your best shot. What's the first card you want to cut, and what's the card you want to add for under $5?
So I have a boring one, and then I have two because I don't think this deck can win enough. So I want to make even more ways for it to win. So the first one is, this is just pretty much, in my opinion, like kind of up and down. The first one is Traveler's Amulet, colorless for an artifact. Colorless, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it to your hand, then shuffle your library. It kind of ramps you. It acts as a mana rock and that sort of thing. I think, so that's fine, but I think for 1 mana more, this is a card that I'm still hype on. I don't care what anyone else says. Our old pal, Moonsilver Key. Let's go, baby. 2 colorless for an artifact. Colorless, tap, sacrifice it. Search the library for an artifact card with a mana ability or basic land card. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Using this to go get your whatever, not Gilded Lotus, the Monster Lotus, your Everflowing Chalices of the world. I just think that getting a basic land or a mana rock is probably going to be a better choice in this slot for 1 more mana.
So I think that's where. See, Tuck, this is where I think you can play this deck in your play group. Because you are inherently making this less competitive by now adding additional pits by doing the justification of just 1 more. It's just 1 more, and that's the casual mindset. So if you're going to put this in a casual group, then yeah, that's perfectly fine. If you're not, absolutely not. You do not do that. Traveler's Amulet for 1 mana less is going to be because it's not the fact that you're getting more value for 1 mana more. It's the fact that it still takes you 1 additional mana to get that additional value. That's the problem.
I can see that.
I have a hard time struggling with that because I'm with you. I think 1 mana more, that's not a big deal. It matters dramatically. So,
and FYI Scream, Liaze did post a clip off of Twitch, which we'll be posting to everywhere that we can find of him drinking Degenerate Loves Radioactive something or other. So that's my first cut. So, and the second ones are just kind of, the second one is a little bit more of a win card because if we are dealing with an army of different creatures, we might be able to help win with them. So I understand this is probably going to make it a little bit more casual, but of all the 0 drops that you've thrown in here, I feel a Darksteel Relic is probably the weakest.
That's fair.
I get why it's in here, right? 0 drop, you play it off the top.
Well, it's actually more just in here. It is the 0, but it's also indestructible. So that if someone does get to Vandal Blast you, it's like, at least I got something left.
I got something left to go back into it. But you talked about one of your win cons being Masterful Replication, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is there a card that will let you win the game on your upkeep when you have a bunch of cards with the same name?
Sure.
And there is. And that card, ladies and germs, is Mechanized Production. Let's go. 2 colorless, 2 blue for an enchantment aura. It's a mythic now for $15. Enchant artifact you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted artifact. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts of the same name as one or another, you win the game. Noted that it's not an enchant creature, it's just an enchant artifact. So any of these 0 drops, any of these cards that are out here, your construct tokens, your Tormod's crypts.
Fuck! You missed it. The card you cut is the card that you put
it on.
Because it's indestructible.
I just, as soon as I said that out loud, I was like, wait a minute. I think I screwed up. I was like, okay, I hope that Mountain Dew went to Mr. Combo's brain. He's not going to call me on this. We can just move on. Okay.
Nope. 100% calling you on it.
Oh, geez. Okay. In that case, I don't know. Cut a land. There you go. Island. God.
Before we get to it, Tuck's like, yeah, it's a competitive deck, right? I only need 10 lands, right? Yeah, it's fine.
Well,
So
is Spellbook the better one to cut?
No, you need
that,
I don't have
right?
a Reliquary Tower in the list, so that's kind of like the only way you can keep your no maximum hand size. So I'll say this though, we definitely cut the wrong card. There is a card here that we could cut. Like if you wanted to, you could cut Psy Master Thopterus.
Right. Yeah, it's a little bit more of a win more, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of the casting artifact triggers you're going to get. I just kind of had it in here for you get to sack 2 artifacts to draw a card.
Sure.
So you could cut that for this card, but I do agree this is a more geared towards the casual route because you have to wait for that upkeep trigger.
Yeah.
But I think that's just once again, I wanted to build this deck to where you could sit down at either table. And yeah, you might be ahead above of everyone else at the more casual side, but it's still not like, okay, I'm going to take infinite turns turn 2, and you guys are just screwed. Same thing with the CEDH table. I just didn't want you to be like, well, I'm not playing as fast as you guys, so I'm kind of screwed. So I think Mechanized Production fits along the strategy of the Construct Red Zone piece.
Right.
It's just a little bit more on the casual because now there's like a specific event you have to wait for to get it to do the thing.
So while we're on the topic, I think if you cut... So you said there's what, 27 lands, 30 or something like that?
29.
So I think if I could build 2, it'd be easy to make 2 versions of this, right? The CEDH version and the normal version that you play at the table. And I think the cuts are all just the 0-drop, super fast mana stuff, right? If you just take those out for lands, I think now this is much more... Because if you take those out, the deck runs a little slower, right? You have to build a little bit more. I think then it's still very strong. It's still a 7 or an 8. It's certainly not a 2 tapped out. But you just don't have those insane explosive starts that you get in CDH that you can't come back from a normal table. You know what I mean?
So I agree with you, but I would challenge you here, Tuck. If you do that, then you'll never be able to compete at those casual tables because Urza has the reputation. And you know what it's like with Zur?
Yeah.
When you have a commander with a reputation, and even if you have it depowered, people don't believe you.
Right.
They're still going to come hand speed at you.
It's an arch enemy deck no matter how you cut it, right?
So what I would say, what you would end up cutting, it would be the controlling aspects of the deck. I think it's like, okay, you know what? I will cut Pact of Negation, Force of Negation, Counter Spell. You know what? Let me get rid of that stuff. I just want to be able to get in here, win in the red zone, and that's it.
Right.
Maybe
or just get blown out because it's arch enemy, right? And then we move on to the next game.
Sure. So that's kind of more way I see it, because I honestly don't think Urza is worth running as a commander unless you have those 0 drops, because that's kind of what makes it special.
Right. Yeah, and being able to get it out so fast, sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, you got one left for an under 50. What do you no budget? Sorry, I tried to break your bank, and I hope you noticed I did cut Mox Opal, Mox Diamond,
Mox Diamond. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I guess I left Opal in. I cut Diamond because I think it was like $500, and I was like, yeah, he's
definitely don't have one of those. I do have an Opal though, and I wish I would have gotten Mox Amber when they were $5, but here we are. All right, so this one is the competitive cut, because if we're playing a competitive version, I think Darksteel Forge does too little, too late.
Okay.
It's a 9-drop mythic rare for $19 that says artifacts you control have indestructible. Slam dunk card, great, right? I think this is really, really good in the more non-CDH higher power, because you're going to get to those turns 5, 6, 7, 8 when this is going to matter more. I think if we want to keep the CMC low, if we want to come out the gates, have a few more ways to win, I think we can cut this one pretty quickly. I like it in the deck.
So here's my only response to that. When you talk about the mana piece, that same justification could be used for Jin Kataxis.
100%. And I don't disagree with you there, right? Like,
And so that, but when we were building the deck, the reason I bring that up is we struggled with that. It was like, you bring up certain cards. Well, that's really expensive because
right.
initially I had all the Belgaldrazis in here, you know, and I was like,
Oh,
okay,
yes,
that's
yes,
what
yes,
we're trying
yeah.
to get to. And it was just like, I don't know, it's a lot of mana. So I think the only reason I had still felt Darksteel Forge had a home was because it is an artifact that could tap for mana. So it's
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
okay, even if I'm getting it incredibly late, you'll be able to cast it as early as you've seen turn 3 or 4. But even if you get it late, it's still a mana rock.
Right.
But I'll be interested to what you think a more competitive add to this is.
I mean, it should be obvious, right?
Nexus of Fate? Draw your
No.
deck,
No,
win.
no, 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 no. So there's a card you own that has seen the most egregious price spike that I've ever seen in my life. We both own one or more copies of it. It started at around $3, and then when people started hearing about us on this podcast, it went to about $5, and now this card is well over $10, breaking the rules for the Abyss proxy shop thing that we say. If we are making infinite construct tokens, we will mill your entire deck with Altar of the Brood.
This card's $11 now?
Yes! Look at the Eugen. Look at the Eugen's Fate promos. 25.
Oh my god. Guys, I was buying these when they were $1 just like 4 years ago.
I only found this out because this is also in your deck that I built for you, obviously. And I was looking through this. I was like, I can't believe this. So we get to talk about this 2 weeks in a row. For those who don't know, Altar of the Brood is what, Mr. Combo? Close your eyes.
I don't even have to look.
Yeah.
It's a colorless. It's a rare from, I think, Cons.
Correct.
I know it's Cons block.
Cons, yep.
And Yep, it's an artifact, and it states whenever a permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent takes the top card of their library and puts it in their graveyard. I think, has it been errated to mill? Like whenever a permanent enters the battlefield under your control, they mill a card?
Each opponent mills a card. Yeah, that's a new functional errata. But yes.
Sweet.
It's so good. Like, you talk about CMC conversion. We're going from 9 to 1. It's amazing. We're already making infinite construct tokens. I know you left it out because it's a deck for me. Which I totally understand, but it's so good. Even if you're just doing it normal.
Yeah, well, audience, did you hear that? Tuck said, even if you're just doing it normal. I think that's admitting that Altar of the Brood, even when you're not abusing it, is just good to have doing normal magic. Man, it's crazy what a card that you could have been with me and enriches.
What 3
I have
years?
Altar of the Brood's coming out my ass over here. Just sitting on a gold mine.
Now, the real question is, how many of the Eugen's Fate promos do you have of them? No. Really?
I might own a single
copy
Ugin promo. Maybe.
When I was looking it up as to why, and it's because that new horror that's like the Demir Mill rigmaroles. But anyways,
yep.
It just, if like I said earlier, in for a penny, in for a pound, we got to go this way if we're doing this sort of build. So I can't believe this card is $11.
I mean, remember when it hit $3, we freaked out.
Yeah, we're like, oh my god, we've influenced the market. Nope, just Wizards. Back to basics.
Well, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this me gifting Tuck a CEDH episode. Please subscribe on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on your podcast platform. Wherever you're listening or watching us live or on the recording, leave a 5-star, leave a little comment, or apparently troll us when we're actually on stream and making me drink Cheeto Dew. And if you'd like to get a hold of us, here's how you can do that. My Twitter is at Mr. Commodore number 5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. BigTuck. Let's see. Let's. I'm gonna give you a bit. So I don't care what your bit's at right now. I'm gonna give you a bit.
Okay, I'm listening.
I would like you to. Oh. How about this? Let's do a BigTuck controversial take.
Oh,
just
no.
try it out for a week.
More controversial?
When you see a tweet that you're like, oh, even if you don't believe in your take, you're just like, I know I could drop this bomb and people are just going to freak out. That's what I want you to do. So next time we record, it's like, okay, guys, I saw Ultra Budget Brews post about this card, and I dropped this in the comments, and it went insane.
So you just
I
want
think it would be so fun to have you be a troll in our Twitter.
you just want me to be a shit poster is what you want me to do. You just want me to shit.
No, you don't have to sit there. It would be like if someone's like, "Oh my gosh, Force of Will, best counter spell ever," and you're like, "I don't know. I really like this 8-drop common."
Cancel seems pretty good.
Yeah, cancel seems better, right? It's 2 less mana.
I have had a weird theme of whenever someone posts an instant that's in mono black, I immediately tag Tomer and be like, "Isn't this good in Toshiro?" He evidently doesn't seem to like it. But you can find me on Twitter at BigTuck tweeting, and we do have a celebrity death this week. Another tough guy, James Caan. Oof.
Yeah,
That's a bummer.
was sad.
I think he's 80.
I was always hoping that they would do like a. Well, I was hoping that they would do a Las Vegas reunion movie.
Oh, I forgot.
I love that show.
I forgot you loved that show. Yes, I was like, I was surprised. Like, does Mr. Camo know who James Caan even is?
Hell yeah,
Oh.
that dude was awesome. And we also want to make sure that we do a big shout out to a new patron. We had someone join the collective, Brandon E. Thank you so much for joining. They mentioned that they'd been listening for a while. I know we had some Discord, Patreon connectivity issues. We got that figured out. So thank you for joining the collective. We really appreciate it.
Is he the he's something elephant in the Discord, correct?
Sure. I don't remember people's Discord like users. I just once they like fix their name, it's like okay. And like Rickers, you completely threw me off because I think he changed his to like some Stranger Things like tag, and I was like, who the hell is this person? And I was like, oh yeah.
How did you get here?
Now, you guys will be able to find the video, audio, deck list, our picks and ads, everything at the article over at cmdtower.com/BNBE146. Basically, I think if you just type in Chrome Mox, Mirror Battlesphere, Darksteel Forge, Tower.com, pretty sure Alta Vista brings us up. Now, remember, if you'd like to know how you could support us, there's a myriad of different ways. Patreon.com/CMDTower. You get shout outs. We do different stuff with that. Our Etsy shop, Etsy.com, just CMD Tower in the search bar. You'll be able to find it. A lot of great swag. And then finally, AbyssProxyShop.com. Be sure to use code CMD Tower to get 10% off. All 3 ways are ways that you guys can influx support into our channel if you think we're doing a good job. And if you don't think we're doing a good job, let us know what we could do to improve or maybe make it more enticing compared to some other channels you're listening to, because we're always receptive to new ideas. BigTuck, say yes to the deck, Urza. First, like we always do, give us your episode thoughts and deck thoughts now that we've kind of gone through and talked through it. And then will you say yes to the deck?
I think I'm gonna say yes to this. I don't know if I don't know how I'm gonna build this though, is the problem. So I think I like this. This deck was, so I was kind of wishy-washy on it, and then I play tested it a few times, and I was like, this is what people do. This is a turn 1 play in this format, and I kind of got giddy about it, right? Now, granted, I didn't have any opponents trying to stop me from doing what I wanted to do, but it was like it. I think as someone who plays a lot of battle cruisery and attacking decks, I will admit that it does kind of get like, I think, were you playing with us and did you play with us in Chicago when we were kind of like, everyone do your first 2 turns in a row? Like you just kind of, everyone just kind of goes at once. Cause it's like, you either play a Soul Ring and a Mana Rock or a Mana Dork,
gotcha.
Or you like fetch, or you like, so we had, I can't remember specifically what it was, but we had some way that we like sped up the first 2 rounds of the game because no one's doing anything anyways. Right. So it was really interesting in playtesting this being like, oh no, turn 1 is as explosive as some decks turn 6, right?
Yep.
Like it's so fast. I think where CEDH loses the luster is that everyone's doing that, right? It's not just me playing this deck. That being said, it was really fun to go off on this. And like I said earlier, the fact that that construct token comes out, I think is like probably pretty good, right? There are times where the construct token itself was 6/6 or 7/7 on turn 2 equipped with an item, right? So I think it's really fun. I think this is a deck that I could almost minus some of these super high end cards buy completely out of proxy and just spend that money that way, or just shuffle cards around and that sort of thing. Or sorry, playtest cards. I apologize. We do not proxy. We playtest. So yeah, like I think this is I really think that there's a lot of interesting choices in this for that sort of build.
So actually, Tuck, so I think if you wanted to do it like this, similar to how Marketing Ross kind of has his Gundam pilot deck thing where he kind of has the white and then he has like the red and that. I think you could do something like that, but on a smaller scale. I think you could actually build this deck out. You know, if you for the competitive side,
right?
You build it out. If you agree with the list, great. If you still think you need to do swaps, great as well. I think you do that. But then I think you take 10 cards you would cut, and you would add 5 lands and then 5 of whatever else. Maybe it is just generic board wipes. Curse of the Swine. I know we already have Rift in here. Wash away.
Sure, washout's really good. Yeah,
especially
in this deck.
Yeah. So you, because I know your play group is more battle cruisery, so you pick 10 cards, you add in 5 lands because you are removing more ways to ramp, and then you just add in 5 like, hey, I just kind of need to do board wipes and stuff because that's like what my play group like. We are dealing this stuff a lot, and then it's like, what are you sitting down at? Maybe 80% of the time you are playing it as the toned down version with your own play group because you are having fun with it. But then when you show up at a Magic Fest or a Friday Night Magic, oh, what are we playing? Oh yeah, we're over here playing 8s and 9s. You're like, oh, okay, like take out these 10, put in these 10. I'm good to go.
Exactly.
I think that's actually what you're looking for. You're not looking to have just a dedicated competitive deck. I think you'd like something that, like, if I could shift 10% of the cards out, it moves at like a power level and a half up or down.
It's like your Prosh to Sakar like change, right? That you did.
Yeah.
Right, where it's like, okay, if I really wanted to build this, I could swap in the 10 cards I cut out to make it Prosh, and then I can play more competitively. If I want to play it more casual, I have these ones there. So yeah, I do like that idea of modular decks. I think that's going to be something that's really going to be helpful in like Vegas or these other Magic tournaments that we're going to be going to this very year.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Mr. Combos.
So, I was just typing a little message. So, I think it was great. So let's do the official. You said you think. There is no thinking. I don't think my fiance said, I think I'll take that.
I already said yes. What more do you want from me?
I want more enthusiasm.
You're going to say no to the one I present to you next week anyways.
Who knows? See you next week. And one more. Oh, that is bad.
You seem like you liked
it. Wasn't great. Well, Twitch, well, YouTube, thanks for joining. Leia, I'd like to say thank you for that clip of me possibly throwing up a little bit, smelling it, but I can't say thank you. I guess the internet will just have to live with my face and dealing with that. So.
All right, thanks everyone out there on streaming platforms. We'll see you on Monday for our dollar deck builds. Bye.